Fresh out of college, I was a bundle of ambition and determination, weighed down by student loans. I had sent out countless applications, sat through numerous interviews, and all the while, I was burning the midnight oil at a round-the-clock convenience store. But every door I knocked on seemed to shut in my face, each one echoing the same sentiment: you lack the right experience. It was maddening. I was confident I could handle 90% of the responsibilities listed in those job descriptions. And the remaining 10, I believe I could learn on the job. But the universe seemed to have other plans. Every rejection, no matter how sugar-coated with praises about my potential, was a blow. Compliments wouldn't pay my bills. I needed a job. One evening, with a heavy heart, I found myself filling out yet another application. This one wasn't even for a salaried position. It was an unpaid internship with a research firm. It's for the experience, I muttered to myself, trying to find the silver lining as I completed the form. Just as I was about to head out for my night shift, I hit the send button, grabbed my coat, and dashed out. The next day, after a grueling night, I was about to collapse into bed when I noticed a notification on my phone. Expecting another swift rejection, I hesitated for a moment before opening it. To my astonishment, it read that I had been accepted for the internship. Without giving it much thought, I skimmed through the terms and conditions and accepted. Who really reads those things anyway? With that, I drifted into a deep sleep. But jarring alarm from my phone woke me up around midday. Confused as I didn't recall setting an alarm, I checked my phone. The message from earlier popped up, reminding me to be at the company by 3 in the afternoon for my induction. The address seemed to be on the outskirts of town, but I had just enough time to make it. The building itself was unremarkable, resembling any generic corporate structure. As I approached, I noticed a queue for security checks. When it was my turn, I was subjected to an intense body scan that felt intrusive. I was about to voice my discomfort when it hit me. The terms and conditions. Somewhere in that lengthy document, I must have consented to this. I was handed a lanyard with a photo of me, oddly in my sweatshirt, and not the formal attire I had on. Before I could question it, a voice called out, "Are you Samuel Brooks?" A woman in her early 30s, dressed in a sharp navy suit with her blonde hair pulled back into a ponytail, approached me. She extended her hand. "I'm Rebecca Armstrong, but everyone just calls me Rebecca, or Becca, since there are 2 R. Armstrongs here." I tried not to stare too much, but her presence was commanding. I shook her hand, wondering what this new chapter would bring. Rebecca's smile was enigmatic as she replied, "There used to be 2 of us. But that's a story for another day. Now, let's dive in, shall we?" In hindsight, the rapid transition from sending an application to being seated at a workstation should have raised red flags. The inexplicable photo they had of me, the one I didn't recall providing, should have been a cause for concern. But the thrill of finally breaking through after endless rejections overshadowed my reservations. The only nagging thought was that I hadn't formally resigned from the convenience store. "Don't sweat the small stuff," I whispered to myself, focusing on the screens before me. My workstation displayed 12 live feeds, each capturing mundane domestic settings. Curiosity led me to click on one, revealing a home office. An old calendar, a lone cactus, and a bookshelf were the room's primary occupants. The vantage point suggested a computer camera's perspective. The next feed showcased a spacious kitchen, pots neatly arranged on a wall hanger. My assignment was simple: observe and note any anomalies. The initial rooms bore no activity, so I shifted to a third feed. A young man, perhaps a few years my senior, was engrossed in some gadget while lounging on a sofa. His actions seemed ordinary. Should I move on or wait for something peculiar to unfold? Lost in thought, I was startled when Rebecca's voice broke my concentration. "How's the observation coming along, Samuel?" I turned to find her scrutinizing my screens. For a moment, I struggled to recall her surname, but Becca was all that came to mind. "It's interesting," I replied cautiously. I'm trying to discern what's considered unusual here. Rebecca glanced at her tablet, her brow furrowing. Your records indicate strong observational skills. I racked my brain, trying to recall what I might have written on the application to give her that impression. Hoping to sound confident, I responded, observation has always been one of my strengths. She seemed somewhat appeased and began to move away, her attention divided among the numerous workstations. But a burning question halted her. Rebecca, I began, the people we're observing, they know they're being watched, right? I mean, they must have given consent. Otherwise, wouldn't the knowledge of being observed alter their behavior? She paused, giving me a look that made me feel like I'd missed something fundamental. They're unaware, Samuel. The essence of observation is lost if the subject is conscious of it. With that, she continued her rounds. I tried to process this revelation, but my thoughts were interrupted by a faint scream emanating from my workstation. Scanning the feeds, I spotted a woman rushing into a room. I quickly enlarged the view, revealing a bedroom scene. The camera, possibly perched on a bedside table, provided a clear vantage point. Moments later, a man entered, his heavy breathing palpable. The woman's retreat was halted by the room's confines, and to my horror, the man began to assault her. Instinctively, I reached for my phone to dial emergency services, but a chilling realization hit me. I had no clue where this was taking place. I shot up from my seat, my heart racing, eyes darting across the room. Rebecca, I yelled, my voice echoing through the vast space. We need Rebecca now. Whether someone relayed my call or she heard it herself, Rebecca was by my side within moments. My voice trembled as I recounted the harrowing scene I'd witnessed. A woman was assaulted right there on the screen. We have to notify the police. The woman's motionless form haunted the screen, but Rebecca's face remained impassive, her gaze never shifting to the monitor. Sit, Samuel, she commanded, her tone eerily calm. Your role is to observe and relay. The system will handle the rest. But we need to intervene, I protested. I trust the system, she replied, cutting me off. Now, resume your work. The remainder of the day was a haze. The woman's plight consumed my thoughts, even as I observed paramedics or police, their uniforms unfamiliar, arrive and attend to her. Maybe someone else had reported the incident. I clung to that hope. By midnight, as I exited the building, I was resolute. I wouldn't return. I drafted a polite email, expressing my gratitude but declining the internship. But once home, sleep eluded me. When my phone's alarm jolted me awake, I was disoriented. Checking the time, I was startled to find it was already mid-afternoon. I never set this, I muttered. A notification caught my eye. My bank had credited an astronomical sum, enough to clear my student debts. My heart raced as another message popped up. This one from Rebecca. It read, per the terms you accepted, we've deposited funds equivalent to your debt. Failure to complete the program will result in immediate repayment, with an added 80% administrative fee. See you soon. P.S. Cute pajamas. A chill ran down my spine. Glancing at my laptop, it was open, its camera facing me. I barely made it to the bathroom before nausea overtook me. Resignation was no longer an option. The financial noose they'd slipped around my neck was too tight. Arriving at the office later, the security guard's scrutinizing gaze irked me. What's your issue? I snapped after another invasive scan. Your vitals have been erratic for hours, he retorted. Confused, I began to ask how he knew, but then it hit me. Like many, I had a fitness tracker on my phone, and it seemed to track more than just steps. Frustrated, I retreated to the restroom, powered off my phone, and contemplated removing the battery. As I muttered curses under my breath, my resolve hardened. I needed answers, and Rebecca was at the top of my list. Emerging from the restroom, a stranger awaited me. His pristine smile gleamed, and he extended a hand. Hey, Samuel. I'm Mike, your supervisor for today. I need to speak with Rebecca. I began, but he interrupted. Rebecca's upstairs. Today, you're with me in the basement. He gestured towards an elevator, and despite my reservations, I followed. Mike was impeccably dressed in a dark blue suit, a faint striped tie, and polished black shoes. His hair was perfectly styled, and a woody scent emanated from him. My own anxiety-induced perspiration made me hope his cologne was potent enough to mask any unpleasant odors. As the elevator descended, I pondered my escape. Do people ever leave this program? I inquired, feigning nonchalance. Mike pondered for a moment. Self-termination happens on occasion. Sometimes, we conclude that the internship isn't a fit. It's always disheartening to see potential go to waste. Why? Contemplating an exit? No, I replied, still processing his unsettling choice of words. The elevator doors revealed a vast room filled with desks, each equipped with laptops. To my horror, I noticed restraints affixed to the chairs. A chill ran down my spine. What was this place? Mike, seemingly oblivious to my discomfort, beamed. Today, Samuel, you'll be introduced to our groundbreaking project. It's generating buzz throughout our organization. We believe it could revolutionize our nation's governance. I interrupted. The government and its citizens run the country, not some. He shot me a pitying look. Samuel, the individuals you've been observing, do you truly believe they're equipped to lead? This establishment is a linchpin in the world's most efficient administration. We've discreetly steered this nation for over 50 years, making it unparalleled globally. His fervor was unsettling. He motioned for me to stand behind a painted red line on the floor. Reluctantly, I complied, my legs trembling. As Mike joined me, a distant buzzer echoed, and a massive shutter door began to rise. An overpowering, putrid stench filled the air. Before I could question Mike, a group emerged from the doorway. Their tattered clothing and lanyards bolted directly into their throats were horrifying. Their skin, in various stages of decay, revealed raw flesh beneath. Their mouths moved incessantly, but no sound came out. Mike leaned in, whispering, "Their tongues are removed during initiation." Mike's words hung in the air, but I was too paralyzed by the scene before me to process them. Men in overalls, armed with tasers, herded the grotesque figures into the room. Any creature that strayed was jolted back into line, its flesh sizzling upon contact. The room soon became a cacophony of burning flesh and a nauseatingly sweet stench. My heart raced, and sweat drenched my clothes, but I was rooted to the spot, unable to tear my eyes away. The creatures, under the watchful eyes of their handlers, took their places at the desks. As they settled, restraints automatically secured their limbs. The screens before them came alive with a flurry of images, each changing faster than the last. To my astonishment, the creatures began typing in response, their movements eerily synchronized with the shifting images. They're reacting to the stimuli, I stammered. Mike beamed with pride. Precisely, Samuel. The zombie brain is free from societal distractions. No insecurities, no desires, no ambitions. They're the perfect subjects. For what? I managed to croak. To develop algorithms that will shape the future of our nation, he declared. I was too overwhelmed to reply, my mind grappling with the horror and the implications of what he'd just shared. A buzzer interrupted my thoughts, releasing the creatures from their restraints. They lumbered towards a corner, where a hatch in the ceiling opened, releasing slabs of glistening meat. The creatures lunged at the meat, tearing into it with a ferocity that made my stomach churn. Once the feeding frenzy subsided, Mike led me back to the elevator. On the ground floor, he handed me a soda, claiming it would help calm my nerves. "See you tomorrow," he said nonchalantly. But I had no intention of returning. I wandered the streets aimlessly, the weight of the day's revelations pressing down on me. As dawn approached, I resolved to disappear, to find some remote place far from this nightmare. Mike's words about interns becoming life's leftovers haunted me. The final horror wasn't the creatures feasting, but the realization of what they were consuming. Among the meat, I'd caught a glimpse of a hand, a face, eyes wide with terror. The true nature of the leftovers became chillingly clear.